everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to Cinephilia. Welcome to episode something of Cinephilia.
Oh, I can tell you what episode it is.
Oh, it is? You can?
Yeah. I have a whole list. That's not it. This is episode 64.
Episode 6. We've done 64 of these shows.
We've done 64 episodes.
Welcome to episode 64. More importantly, welcome to our first back-to-back stream tonight with 1:45 coming right after us. So it's kind of a big day for us.
It's a big day. And also, Cinephilia is on a new set.
It's on a new set.
Look how pretty this is.
Look at this.
So there's a lot going on here at the studio today. Hopefully it all goes well.
We're here. You guys are here, I think. There's a few. Yeah, there you go. You guys are in there. How do you guys like the new set? It's still not quite done. There's still some more stuff to do, like
but it's cool.
Covering out those cords because we're supposed to be slightly more in.
I tried to be slightly more in, but if I'm slightly more in, then I'm also covering up the Cinephilia logo. So we have to figure that out. It's cool.
So we're doing Watchmen today.
Yep, we're talking about Watchmen today, the series. There's only one season, but I figured it's a good way to wrap up Black History Month because it's very originally on the schedule. I don't even know if you noticed. Originally on the schedule, I had Black Panther for us to talk about today, and I was like, Watchmen is a little stronger, so let's talk about Watchmen.
So if you haven't seen Watchmen, there's gonna be slight spoilers, but we're gonna keep from talking about like what the season ends like for two reasons. One's because we want you guys to watch it. Right. Two, because I have 30 minutes left on the last episode.
When I got here in the studio, he was still watching, trying to catch up. Almost made it. Yeah,
because of all of the setup for 1:45 in this show, like in the new space. I didn't have time.
It's been a busy week.
Last night I watched like 4 episodes before going to bed, and then 2 episodes here while I was setting stuff on my phone. I watched 2 more episodes, so I was only short by half an hour.
Yeah.
Last night I was gonna go watch 1 more episode before I went to bed. I should have done that because then I would have been done. So.
But you gotta sleep too. I understand.
Yeah, people gotta sleep. So you want to get started with the news?
Yeah, let's do the news.
So what's on the news?
So do you want me to start light or heavy? Because there's all kinds of news today.
Is there like a happy one?
There's one that there are a couple that I'm very happy about. Okay, so first, the new Mulan from Disney is the first of these Disney live action movies to receive a PG-13 rating, which I think bodes well for the movie.
I think so.
Because it will, it'll be a little more serious if they can get away with like some violence because it's a movie about war.
I feel like it would be hard to avoid the PG-13 rating.
Right.
Because
I mean, the original movie was G, but it's also animated and has Eddie Murphy sidekick, so it's
and any fighting wasn't.
There was no blood or anything like that.
No,
so I think that's a something promising for the movie. So that's one thing that I think is good. Also, Bob Gale, who is the writer of Back to the Future, has been approached about doing a reboot of Back to the Future, and he was like, nope, not interested. And I think that is good news.
That's a movie that doesn't need to get remade.
I feel like more franchises, more people who are the creators should just like let things be.
I kind of feel like if they want to go back and explore something, I like the Jumanji route, where they kind of took the theme and the idea and made something different and new and but like I feel this would be really hard to continue. Just do I don't know. Yeah, no, just leave it alone.
Yeah, I think it's fine being left alone. So I wish that more people would take that stance and be like, no. He literally said, his quote is, "You don't sell your kids into prostitution," which I think is a great way to look at it. Because, as a creator, these are our babies, these projects.
So there was that Back to the Future deep fake with Tom Holland.
Oh, that's right.
And so they interviewed Tom Holland about it, and he's like, "So when are you guys gonna start shooting?" And he said no. It's like he wouldn't do it. He said that movie's already perfect. There's no need for him to do it. Although he looks really good in it, and if they were gonna remake it, I would be happy if it was Tom Holland. But that's it.
Also in good news, the sequel to Train to Busan 2 Peninsula is actually getting a theatrical release in the U.S. So I feel like
I still need to see that.
I feel like now it's on Netflix. The first
I know.
I was
just talking to somebody about it.
It's so good. But now with the hype that Parasite has gotten, being a foreign film, I feel like a lot of movies that foreign movies that usually would just come straight to streaming or straight to DVD or something they're going to push to get more of those into theaters, which I think is great.
I think so, yeah.
So it makes perfect sense, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, me too. That sounds very cool.
Now, some heavy news.
Ooh.
Heavy, okay, the first one I'll start with is heavy but good.
Okay.
It was just announced today that Harvey Weinstein was found guilty for his convictions in New York. So I guess there were 5 days of deliberation that his jury went through, and they came out with the decision that he was guilty of his sexual assault case in 2006 and guilty of third-degree rape in 2013. So he's apparently the maximum sentence for the sexual assault is 25 years and 4 years for the rape in third degree, which is, I guess, in my opinion, not enough. But
yeah, didn't he get the harsher crimes found not guilty of?
I'm not sure.
From what I read earlier this morning, it's the 1 or 2 charges that were the more severe he was found not guilty of. It was only the lesser, which would have carried, I think, life in prison.
Right.
So he just got the little ones.
But that's just for his New York cases. So he still is going through his Los Angeles cases. So there will be more,
Yeah, if you're going to break it a lot, try to stick to one state. Let's make your life easier.
So at least that has some good news to it. Although it's not, the best. But there is another thing I wanted to talk about that's going on kind of in my backyard on Twitter, because a friend of mine is actually going through it. But the director of the film Guns Akimbo has gone on a wild Twitter charade bullying women of color.
Oh.
Just as his movie is, on the eve of coming out, this director, who also directed the movie Deathgasm, if you all have seen that, his name is Jason Lee Howden. He started. There's a whole story behind it. I'm not going to get into the details because there's a lot of things going on, including use of the N-word and a suicide attempt and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, this guy.
But yeah, it's a wild story. But just know that he is being completely irresponsible. And so you can barely see it. But the movie Guns Akimbo has apparently been pulled from release.
Ooh.
So and just
an idiot.
Just earlier today he released an, I'll put it in quotes, apology for his actions on Twitter, which are, the apology was kind of just bullshit. So yeah, one of the women that he's been attacking is another film critic that I've been on panels at conventions with. She's great, and she kind of fell into this. So I don't even know how much of there's a Mary Sue article about it, but I don't think the media generally has picked up on a lot of it. But I've been watching it happen over the weekend. Which is just unfortunate.
Was it just he just felt like it one day and just started going at it?
There was, like I said, there's a history. So there was use of the N-word by someone, and then there was a reaction to that where people were saying like, you shouldn't be using that word. It was a non-black person using the word. So there was a reaction to that saying that you shouldn't be using that word, and then the idea that this director had was, because he was completely not part of it, but he felt like people telling this person that they shouldn't use the N-word was bullying. Mm-hmm. And so he started on his anti-bully brigade, trying to call out people who were saying that kind of stuff. But in his process of trying to call that out, because telling someone that using the N-word when you're not black isn't bullying, that's calling out your bullshit. But he started to bully the people that he felt were bullies, which weren't actually bullies. It's a whole contrived thing that's ridiculous. But he was just like unhinged on Twitter. It was ridiculous.
That's fun.
So yeah, so his movie apparently has gotten pulled. I don't know what's going to happen with it, but it was a new movie starring. I can't even remember if we watched the trailer for it or not. But I
feel like we did.
I think we did too. It's a new Daniel Radcliffe movie.
We definitely did.
Yeah, so it's not something I'm interested in seeing now, but apparently not something that may not even be coming out anytime soon. So awful news, but that's all my news.
Great. Awesome. Do you want to jump into some trailers?
Yeah, let's watch some trailers. Let's watch some
trailers.
Some non-Guns Akimbo trailers.
Oh, that's all I had today. That's weird. So because we were setting up for all this stuff today and setting up this thing, I do not quite remember what trailers are, what order, what we have.
It's a surprise.
So it's going to be a surprise. So here's the first trailer. Yeah, no, I can't remember what it is. There we go. Oh, it's just for Run. It's a scary movie with Sarah Paulson, who loves being in scary things.
She does, but she's also good at it. So.
Yeah, she's really good at it. And she's also real funny. You'd never know.
Will she be okay?
You do everything for me. You teach me. You cook for me. Am I a burden?
Sweetheart,
I could do more.
I'm your mom. It's my job to take care of you when you need
You didn't
me.
hear that.
And you
His belly
need
just
me.
got scared of the movie. He made lots of noises. It's not a very good trailer.
Are you okay?
not.
I'm checking out.
Of course I'm okay. I have you.
Ooh. She's got no internet.
Pay your bill.
The medication has messed with her head.
What's wrong?
This trailer's too long.
Yeah.
Sweetheart?
You guys want to talk about something else? Like,
Well, what's weird is that I'm interested. This trailer makes me interested in the movie, but it's not selling the movie.
yeah.
Like what I'm getting from this trailer, because it doesn't seem like they have the stereotypical horror shots to show in a trailer. It makes me interesting because it feels like it will be more of a actor's horror movie. It probably will have a cool story, and Sarah Paulson is a great actress, and I feel like. So it's selling me on the movie in that regard, but the trailer itself is not interesting, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's a poor trailer.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it finished. I didn't even notice.
You were texting.
Yeah. People love texting me like as I'm putting my phone down. It's my dad. I had to answer.
Hi, Dad. Did your dad watch the show?
No. Trailer 2. I think this is. I'm not gonna say because I might be wrong.
Just play it.
Let's play it.
It doesn't need setup.
There you have it, Mary.
It is Secret Garden. They're making another Secret Garden.
We don't need another Secret Garden.
I've never seen any of them, and some people seem to love the Secret Garden. Like they grew up with it, and it's like a childhood
Your
thing.
rooms only.
But I have no idea.
Exploring, no talking about.
It's just,
Ask to be here.
it's not an awful story. It's an interesting story, but
Wait for me.
I could just go watch the old one.
how many times do we need to remake all of these quote classics? There are so many stories that we don't tell. It's the same way I felt about Little Women. Like it's not anything awful, but why do I need to see it again?
My name is Mary Lennox, and my uncle owns this house. I'm Colin Craven. We're cousins. He wants.
Have you seen the older?
Happiness.
Yeah, I've seen a couple different
Now my
versions
father
of it.
wants me locked in this room, so unforgivable. I need you to keep a secret.
This is
No
pretty.
magic
It's got a nice look to it.
The birds sing for you. You need to see it. We could go outside and who knows? You might feel better.
Hey!
Jose says, another Secret Garden. Isn't this like number 43?
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
So, yeah.
I mean, there have been movies, there have been television shows, there have been miniseries. Like it's. kinds of stuff that's been done with this story already.
And it can be whatever we want.
Also, not a very interesting trailer.
Follow me! There are even monsters in this garden.
Yeah, if they did a live action tutorial, that'd be interesting.
Our mothers made this place magical.
The dog looks like the dog from Lady and the Tramp.
You were hiding something.
If you cause me trouble, I'm obliged by law to have you sent to school.
And we'll need to break the law, won't we?
Stay away from my son.
I was trying to make things better.
Also feels really long.
So
How's this?
I feel like I'm sure this would be a fine movie, like, but I'm just
Production value looks really good.
I'm just not
that
interested in seeing that story again.
I kind of clicked it early. All right. This is so this trailer, I don't know what it's called, I forget. But it's for a movie on Hulu with.
Are you sure it's that one?
Yeah, because I know which one the last one is for sure.
Oh, this is the last one. Okay.
No, the second to last one, but I know the last one for sure. Pete Davidson. It's the movie with Pete Davidson. It's a Red Band trailer.
Ooh, rated R. I'm interested already.
This is dope.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sort of just looks like a bunch of scribbles and dicks.
And when you get older, you realize that's kind of all life is. It's just a bunch of scribbles and dicks and violence I want to avoid.
Zeke was my sister's ex-boyfriend. He was the man.
You gotta jerk off before you go fuck a girl. I jerked off before I picked you up. So I always be prepared. I don't know where the fuck we're going tonight.
And he made me feel like the man.
Hey, thanks for the sub.
Who's gonna drink it?
Hold on, what's in that?
Whiskey,
Oh, it's a YouTube
beer,
subscription.
cough syrup, and Zanny bar.
Get out of here, zombie.
Oh, damn.
We gotta change that zombie.
Yes, we do.
That's my dude.
You meet some punk and you have no idea at the time that he's going to be parked in front of your house every day for the rest of your goddamn life.
You're in high school. You should be making friends your own age.
I like hanging out with Zeke.
I'm more interested in this than the last two movies.
Paul's house. It's so on.
You should sell my pot at your party.
You think I'm just gonna walk into a party and everyone's gonna want to buy pot for me?
Call me crazy.
Who's ready to party?
You're acting real silly right now, all right? That chick is like 16 years old.
Nick, I'm 16.
Exactly. What?
Kids are supposed to make mistakes. That's what the whole point of being a kid is.
How do we feel about Pete Davidson?
Yo, I think it's time.
What the? You permanently
me too.
inked Tongue Daddy to your skin. What does that even mean?
Oh my God.
What do we think?
I think that of the three trailers, I agree that's the most interesting. I'd probably watch that over the other two. But like I said when you asked, Pete Davidson, I'm kind of on the fence about. Like there are things about him I like, and then there are things about him that I'm not sure if I should like, or I don't know him. I don't follow him.
Yeah.
I don't know him outside of SNL. But I feel like there's something just kind of skeezy about him. but that also could be something that I might enjoy. So,
and this might be a good movie for him. It's like he gets to be a little bit funny, but it's like a kind of serious role.
Yeah,
he could be good for him. Okay, this last trailer of the night is for the new season of The Watchmen. Nope,
not Watchmen. There's no new season of Watchmen.
It was of Westworld.
Oh, Westworld.
Westworld.
Okay.
You've watched the other seasons, right?
I've only seen the first season.
I was born
I haven't watched the second.
Catch up.
Oh, wait.
And my
No, I did watch the second season. I've seen both.
pain. For my kind, there was one place we were never allowed to go. One place we were never allowed to see.
A.H. John said the bald father looked like the guy from 2.5 Men in their trailer. Yeah, it is him. It's I forget his name, but it is the guy from 2.5 Men.
Who are you, Dolores?
You and I are a lot alike.
John Cryer? Is that his name?
They put you in a cage, decided what your life would be. They did the same thing to me.
You've been watching me.
Not me, but someone. Something has.
Who is it that we're going after?
The person who took
he's
your
also
future.
Lex Luthor from Supergirl.
Andy.
Welcome to my world, Maeve.
She's great.
What do you want from me, then?
She's great in everything.
Yeah.
Dolores. I want you to track her down and kill her.
She doesn't age.
No, she doesn't.
She looks the same.
I just recently rewatched one of her earlier films, and she does look exactly the same.
Welcome to the end of the game. Five of us against an entire world of them. It'll be enough.
I finally understand my purpose.
I wonder how long the show's gonna go.
I'm gonna save the fucking world.
I don't know.
Maybe this is his last season. I feel like stuff is happening.
The plan
Thompson is still
starting.
Yeah.
What happens if this doesn't work?
I do kind of like they're showing us a bunch of like moments, but without context. So I don't know what's happening, but I want to see it.
I kill everyone.
There's lots of action.
You're not the only predator here. The real gods are coming.
Hey, John says this looks super interesting.
And they're very angry.
It says this, honestly, whatever voodoo Thandie Newton uses, I want it. I love the piano cover. Yeah, the piano cover. They have really good covers on this in this show.
Have you ever seen Beloved?
No.
It's such an underrated movie that no one has ever seen and no one ever talks about. But I just recently rewatched it in this early Thandie Newton movie.
Yeah.
It's got her and Oprah Winfrey and Danny Glover. It's a good movie, and I recommend it. It's not my recommendation for the day, but I do recommend it.
Cool. So I'm excited to watch Watchmen. No, Westworld season 3. So in this, did we talk about on stream about the Westworld thing that I did in Vegas?
You talked to me about it, but I don't remember if you talked about it on the show or not.
I've been talking super quick because we might have. So I went to this special invite only dinner at Vegas this past January during CES with Goldie, and there was kind of like so I guess there's a new tech company in the show who specialize in data gathering, and so the whole idea is that we're there for this dinner for this like real company, and we all got sat on dinner, and they like did crazy research on us.
It's
like creepy. Like they told me things about my life. They told me like what my job was. As soon as I walked in the door, they greeted me by name. The few people who kept greeting me knew exactly who I was. It's like, hey Art, how's it going? I was like, and so it was really cool. So I think there's a whole promotion about that. This whole thing is about data gathering and what we put out on the internet, and
that fits the show.
Yeah,
I mean that's really that's how the show goes. So it's creepy.
Yeah, it was really really cool. But cool. Do you want to get started on our actual Watchmen?
Yeah, I loved Watchmen, and I was late coming into it, not quite as late as you, but I kind of missed out on watching it week to week because I remember when it was originally on and everyone was just raving about it every week when it came out. And I was like, I should really watch it, but I didn't. I watched it later and ended up binging it. But I kind of wish that I watched it when, everyone was like raving about it and had been part of that, because coming to it later and watching it, I was just like, I really want to talk about this show. Yeah. Everyone's already talked about it. But I felt like it was a good show to do for Black History Month.
Yeah. And as a point of warning, spoiler alert,
yes.
We're going to try not to spoil every plot point.
Right.
Specifically the last, because I still haven't finished it. I'm like half an hour till finishing it. So just as a warning, I'm going to turn this off because we're going to try not to do spoilers, but just so you know, it might happen.
Right. So yeah, it's you are a half an hour away from the end.
Yeah. Literally right up to the beginning of the show, I was still trying to finish it. I
tell me if you agree. I feel like this is some of the best writing that we've gotten television.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a long time, if not ever. Like, it's just the way that everything lines up and the way that everything feels important. And the acting and everything else is great too. It's such a great combination of everything it takes to make a show, but the writing in particular is just so incredible.
Every episode has added more to the story.
Yeah.
As I feel like doesn't always happen with TV shows. Sometimes you get shows the episodes that feel like fillers, or they go on a rant or a tangent about something and it doesn't really do anything. But this specifically kept adding to the story really well. That I think it's, really good writing.
Yeah, I love that American television is finally jumping on board. This isn't the first show to do it. A lot of other shows have been doing it too, but finally jumping on board the short season bandwagon.
It's nice.
That has been happening, overseas forever. And just give us, like, Watchmen is only 9 episodes long. We don't need like 13 or 26 episodes to give us a story that's, in 9 episodes, they can give us a story that's concise and to the point and makes its point very passionately, as opposed to having like 26 episodes where a handful of those episodes are just going to be throwaway episodes that don't mean anything.
It's more like a long movie.
Yeah.
And, because you get that like nice, concise storytelling. You get a little bit more of it.
So the reason that I thought it would be a good topic for Cinephilia is because the show actually jumps on a lot of things that we already talk about on this show. And the first is obviously conscious escapism. I was just telling Dave that I actually think I want to start putting together like lesson plans for how people can use conscious escapism when watching things. And I feel like if I were to do that, something like Watchmen or even Parasite, which we talked about last week, they're both good examples of how to start watching movies consciously, because their consciousness is already built in and it's on the surface, so you don't have to dig for it. And it's a nice, kind of beginner process of how to find the consciousness in media and in the things that we're escaping.
Yeah. And the more you do it, the more the things that are not so obvious start popping up. The more the movies and TV shows kind of put it a little deeper, those things start popping up a little bit easier, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
British Cooper says, but in ways, Watchmen is so real.
Yes, exactly.
And he says, escapism rooted in reality.
Yes, that's totally what it is. So one thing that I loved about it is the very first episode, how the show even starts is historical. And I remember this is why I say I wish that I was a part of the process of watching it when it first came out, because I remember when that first episode hit and my social media was just abuzz about how come I've never heard about the Tulsa Massacre of 1921 before. Everyone was like, why haven't I heard about this? I had heard of it because I knew about what was considered Black Wall Street. I don't know how many of you all have heard of that, but it was this neighborhood in Tulsa that was like a burgeoning place for Black companies, Black entrepreneurs, Black people. All of the businesses in this, town were Black owned, had Black patrons, and this is the town that white people in Tulsa were just like, we don't agree with this. We don't like this. And so within a matter of hours, this place that was like, a mecca for Black business and Black growth was just burned down through riots that the white citizens of the area did to this town.
Yeah.
So that's what the Tulsa Massacre of 1921 is.
And I totally thought that when I first watched the episode, I totally thought it was just fiction. It was like, oh, they make, because in the Watchmen history, they make up historical events.
Right.
There's some things are, because they're kind of altered. And I was like, oh,
right. It's like an alternate reality.
Yeah.
So it's recognizable, but not completely.
Yeah.
The
So I
same.
totally thought Tulsa Massacre was like, I had no idea that it was real, that something was, that was based on reality. And I was like, oh, that's kind of, they're made up. No, but it's based on reality.
No, it's an actual thing that happened.
Manly Mutt says, born and raised in Oklahoma, didn't hear about the Tulsa Massacre until college. They didn't teach us in Oklahoma history in high school. Oh, they didn't teach us Oklahoma history in high school. Yeah, I assume that's something that they would probably not want to talk about.
No. And that's the thing that, another thing that we talk about on this show is what is the purpose of, we had whole episodes where we talked about sequels and remakes and what their purpose are. And really we only need them to happen if there's going to be some sort of addition to what was already created, like the original. Like we were saying about Back to the Future, like there's no point in remaking that. It's already, great as is. But if it were ever to be remade or a sequel were to ever happen, the only reason that it would, need to be is to update it for modern audiences or to add some sort of other mindset to it. And that's kind of like what this Watchmen does in that the original, this being, okay, let's go back to the beginning. This Watchmen is a sequel to the original Watchmen comics. But it also serves as a sequel to the movie. They all kind of tie in together. But the creator of this show, who is Damon Lindelof, was a big fan of the comics, and that's why he wanted to do this show. He's been very vocal about the reason for him wanting to do this show, or him being nervous about doing this show because of how powerful the original is and whether or not that can be translated to film or television, and if it's to be translated, what's its purpose? And so he actually did research in order to find a genuine purpose for this show that exists. And this Tulsa Massacre is what he came up with. Are you about to say something?
No, I'm just listening.
So I guess he found out about the Tulsa Massacre through a article that was written by another Black author who is named I can't remember his name.
Oh no!
What happened?
Reed H. Cooper.
What Reed H. Cooper say?
The BTTF sequel is Time Travel Causes Parkinson's.
Oh, that's awful.
That's so sad.
That's awful. So he learned about the Tulsa Massacre through an article in The Atlantic that was written by Ta-Nehisi Coates, who is another great writer. He also wrote, he's written a lot of his own work, but he also is known for writing Black Panther for Marvel recently. But Damon Lindelof was saying that, like so many people who watched the first episode, he didn't know about the Tulsa Massacre until reading that. And he thought it was odd that something that was so major in American history was never taught and that no one knew about it. And so he wanted to use that as kind of a way to spread awareness about today's political issues in a way that would keep what the original Watchmen stood for important and not water that down, but just modernize it for us today. Which is, what we say on the show is the reason to do remakes or sequels. Yeah. It's so weird being on this new set. I keep looking at the TV instead of up at the camera. So if I'm not making eye contact, that's why.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I'm sure there are many other instances like the Tulsa Massacre that we don't talk about, and there are. I just recently learned about a small town in New York City, actually in Manhattan, prior to the building of Grand Central Park, inside the boundaries of the Grand Central Park, there was it was north towards the north, and it's where more of the poor people went, and they built a community where it was one of these communities where like racism was starting to get washed out. There's all kinds of different immigrants from all kinds of different, and they were living
That's New York,
and working together well, and it was this like happy like small town. And then when they decided to build a park, they were like no more, and they
just built the park over.
They built the park over there to the city. And actually, if you go to Grand Central Park, there's still remnants and of some of the buildings and things there and there. And it just became. I mean, they wanted to build a park, but it also became a way to kind of get rid of this town that was making everybody equal.
It's just, it sucks how the system just works that way.
Yeah.
But that's the whole point of this, of Watchmen, is to reveal those things. I know you were saying that when you first started, you didn't really warm up to the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, it started a little slow for me. But as soon as I hit the 3rd episode, I was like, because I literally watched the first episode, I was like, okay, I'm going to watch the next one next. And then I watched that one. And then as soon as I hit 3, I didn't want to stop.
Yeah.
I just wanted to keep going.
Yeah. For me, it was, it didn't take a while for me to warm up to it. I enjoyed it from the beginning, but I was very nervous in the first 2 episodes because of something else that I have talked about on the show before, about how when we portray policemen in media, but make them black, it kind of takes away some of the political talk we're having about those race relations and policemen. And so, like, going into it, I knew that Angela, the main character, I knew that she was some sort of vigilante, but I did not realize until I actually started watching that she was actually a cop.
Yeah.
And that she was working with policemen. And so that took me aback in the first couple of episodes, and I was like, maybe this isn't going to be as, like, woke, quote woke, as the internet is claiming it is. And maybe I don't know. I was just very nervous that it was going to end up being like a bunch of these other movies that we have, where we have black cops and just not addressing the actual issues.
Yeah.
But Watchmen uses that. That's all the setup for addressing the issues.
Yeah.
And it's such an incredible way that they do address the issues. I don't want to get directly into it yet, but how being a black cop kind of, I guess I'm going to get right into it. Might as well. How being a black cop, you know, our main character, who's Angela, played by Regina, I can never remember. Regina King.
Regina King.
I can't remember her name. I talk about her all the time, but for some reason I couldn't remember it just now. Being a black cop kind of keeps her out of the loop of some information. And as the series progresses, and the more that she is able to learn, the less that becomes like a good thing. Like it becomes an uncomfortable thing. And I one episode in particular, which is my favorite episode of the show, is when she takes the nostalgia pills.
Yeah.
And then she actually has her eyes open to everything. And it has to do with being black and being a cop and what that means in our society, where, you know, cops kind of look down on black people. And it's just such an eye-opening experience. Stuff that I know, or stuff that I, you know, have seen in the news, but I imagine for a lot of people, just like they didn't know about the Tulsa massacre, that episode was very eye-opening for a lot of people.
Yeah, and people are not always aware of the experiences that other people go to, and they did a whole episode to it,
right?
To a scene, to the whole story of what happened.
It's kind of, I love the use of the nostalgia pills, because I always feel like a lot of people can't. It's one thing to talk about something. Like if we're on social media having a discussion about something, you can give your insight and your experiences, but that other person you're talking to hasn't actually experienced it. So they might see your words. They may not even believe your words, but even if they do believe your words, it's only hearsay. Mm-hmm. And so that use of the nostalgia pills to actually have someone experience what you want them to learn.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the only way people do learn is through experience. Mm-hmm. You can talk as much as you want. People still may not get it.
Yeah.
And some people are just, on a level to see the things that they're ready to see, and they can't move up to that next level yet. But the use of those nostalgia pills is literally like, no, you're going to wake up today. You don't have a choice. You're going to experience this. And it's such a powerful thing.
It was a way to literally show and not tell.
Right.
Yeah. Show not tell. And it's really cool because like in Watchmen, because of the kind of world with little weirdness that they built, they can toss something as like, we needed something to tell backstory. Oh, let's just make nostalgia pills. When any other TV show, I feel like that would come off as like cheap.
Right.
But in Watchmen, it works because they already have set up this world where things worked a little differently and there's like weird science. So when I first saw the nostalgia pills, I was like, this is kind of weird. And then it happened and it totally made sense. And I let go of this belief.
Well, also the way that even if you go into the nostalgia pill thing thinking, oh, this is going to be cheesy, the way that episode plays out is just so brilliant.
Yeah.
Like there's no way you come out of that episode thinking, oh yeah, that was cheesy. No, you buy it all. The whole episode is in black and white so that you get the feel for, that time. I mean, obviously the person who originally experienced it. Well, let's talk about the nostalgia pills because we haven't even explained.
No. Yeah.
Hopefully you guys have seen the show, but if you haven't, we're trying not to spoil a lot of stuff. But just so you know, nostalgia pills are pills that have someone's memories in them so that when you take it, you experience that memory.
So they were initially in the story created for older people who are going through dementia or things like that, so they could take their own memories and then take these pills so they can relive their memories and they could kind of keep up and not fade away, basically.
Right.
But then society, because this is what we do, we started abusing them.
Right.
And they're intended only to be used by the person whose memories they are.
Right. You're not supposed to experience someone else's memory because it becomes dangerous and you start to lose the idea of who you are. You become confused of whether you are you or if you are the person whose memories you're experiencing. So within this show, Angela, the main character, is given these nostalgia pills by someone who really wants her to realize the history that she comes from. So she takes the nostalgia pills and the whole thing immediately goes to black and white. The whole episode basically takes place within Angela's mind as we see her experiencing the memories. And I love that they just dedicated an entire episode to it.
Yeah.
It makes it that much more powerful. So the memories become black and white with hints of color. There's a little bit of color here and there, but not a lot. And the memories also fade into each other. So it's a very lucid thing that's happening. It feels very dreamlike. And as things start to fade in and out, we start to pick up pieces of a story. The beginning of the episode starts very loose. Like there's someone playing at a piano. There's just words being, thrown at her. And then over the course of the episode, everything starts to fall into place. And by the end of the episode, you get a whole idea of like who this person is, whose memories she's experiencing, and what's important to that person and why that is important to her as a person, Angela as a person, and her history, and also why it's important for what she's experiencing right now in the real world. It's so complex, and this whole show is like just that level of complexity.
I do have a question. One of the things that I wasn't able to, I missed something or I didn't understand. The woman playing the piano throughout the. Can we talk about that and can you explain it? So during as she's having these visions of these memories coming throughout, there's thrown smattering about of a woman at a piano, and she's the only thing, one of the things in color. She'll show up in color, and it's just one woman at a piano playing music. And I didn't really understand what that was about.
She is. Dave's over here. Dave watched it with me and also loved it. So he's like right here beside me. But she is. The person whose memories it is, that's his mother, because he would go watch movies, silent films at the theater, and his mother was the pianist that would accompany the silent films.
I think I missed that at some point.
So there's at the very beginning of the show, like the first episode, just before the riots open, and he's watching that silent film.
Yeah.
His mother is there playing.
Yeah, I totally missed that.
Yeah.
What was that Cowboy Ranger's name? Black Justice or something?
Oh.
Like that?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it. Yeah. But something else that also sets up, and I don't want to spoil this for people who haven't seen it. How many of you in the chat have actually watched Watchmen?
Yeah, let us know if you've
just curious. But I love how those memories also set up the idea of the first vigilante within the Watchmen.
Oh, which is one of my favorite parts.
Right, it's major. It's incredible.
Let me stop for a second. It says, Telepotato Pony says, I said his name correctly and fast.
Ooh.
Could you secretly switch someone's nostalgia pills with another in order to sabotage them? Yeah.
You probably could.
Because they just look like
That'd be
pills, so you
awful.
could take them. And in the story, she takes them all at once, and it's physically also dangerous.
Yeah, that's another thing is that she got a whole bottle of these pills, and they're supposed to be taken one at a time, but because of a situation she was in, she had to take them quick. So she just chugged the entire bottle, and that's why all these memories are so lucid and flowing in and out of each other. And she kind of is comatose. She kind of becomes comatose while she's
she goes into a coma
because it's just too much.
Yeah, even taking one at a time, it's still pretty dangerous. But she took all of them, so it's.
I love because it's such a long flow of storytelling that happens in that episode that I love that we even get a little intermission where someone is trying to wake her up in the middle of it, and she kind of comes out of it for a moment so that we can see what's happening in the real world, but then she just lapses right back into it. It's just such an incredible. I think that might be one of my favorite episodes of television ever. Just the way it's put together. The way it's shot, the way it's edited, everything, all the acting is incredible. There are a lot of really cool in-camera, on-set tricks. There's a lot of special effects in the show, and especially in that episode.
There's one that I want to talk about, but we'll get to it.
But there's outside of the special effects, there are also some really cool in-camera tricks where, because she's experiencing someone else's memory, we see that person in their own memory, and then we see her in the same shots in place of that person in the memory, where the camera will just swing around and the person changes. It's really cool how it's done. What's the special effect that you like?
Let me address this for a second. Jose says, haven't seen it since I don't have HBO, but Showtime in June. I don't know if you guys know, if anybody has AT&T and you have the unlimited plan at AT&T, you get free HBO. It took me a while to find out that I had that. And so if you have that, there's other ways to get HBO for free. Or you can sign up they have the free trial. So you could watch.
Yeah, you can watch the whole thing in a free trial. Or you can also, if you get something like Netflix DVD, you can.
So I want to see what your thought of this. Reed H. Cooper says, I enjoyed it at first, but I felt Damon had absolutely no understanding of the world that Alan Moore created. And since I was still attached to Watchmen, it took me out of it enjoying it as is.
I completely disagree.
Yeah?
I feel like this show was a better interpretation of Watchmen than Zack Snyder's movie.
Yeah. Because Zack Snyder's was visually interesting. It was really cool looking, but it sort of scratched the surface at the deep levels and the themes and all that stuff. It just kind of, it took it at face value.
And there are a lot of things that or not a lot, but there are a few things that Zack Snyder changed for his movie.
Yeah.
That and I don't mean not having an octopus or a squid. Those kind of things are understandable in a movie because you can find other ways to make that a little more plausible. Although personally, I would have loved to see the squid.
I was excited.
And
I
love that we saw it in the show.
Yeah.
But the thing, something like the portrayal of Rorschach in Snyder's version, which the way that Rorschach is portrayed in the series is a little more is a lot more closer to how he's portrayed in the book, but in the movie, he becomes a little more sympathetic and understandable. There was a lot of pushback for the way that Watchmen, the series, interprets Rorschach, which is he's not there as a character, but he's there as sort of the mascot for this white supremacist group, terrorist group that has come up and uses the mask and his iconography as, their symbol. And in the original book, Rorschach was a fascist. Like, he's very much not supposed to be a good guy, even though he's one of the leads that we're following. And the movie kind of drops that. So a lot of people were upset to see, like, I saw people online saying, since the movie dropped it, why do we have to bring it back up in the show? But that's an integral part of the story that Alan Moore was telling. And so that kind of thing is important. And I feel like that's why, just one of many examples of why I think the show is even closer to the book than the movie was. Yeah. So I disagree with Reed H. Cooper. I'm sorry.
Sir Grant says, how did you like the ending? We're not going to talk about the ending because I haven't seen it and we don't want to script.
But I will say that I liked it. Yes.
Yeah, Danny did as well.
And when the news broke that HBO was not doing a second season, I had not watched it yet, but Danny was, jumped on the moment to say after that season, a second season would actually water it down and does not need it. And after finishing the show fully, I would say I have to agree. Like, this is such a powerful show, and just season that's, in itself, that I don't think that a second season could compete with it or even like stand up to it. Yeah. If you're asking specifically about the very last shot of the show and what I thought about that, I think it's. I'm not going to spoil. I'm just going to give. I'm going to give my opinion. I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But I think that it is an incredible thing, and that would have been fun to see play out. But I feel like. How important this first season was, that I'm okay with just that playing out in my imagination, in my head. Like, it's still playing out for me. I don't need to see an actual second season.
I have to run home and watch this. I still have to be quarter one. I have to quarter one to finish and then go home and run watch this. So let's talk about the Hood of Justice and how that played out and how that Hood of Justice.
Well, but does that go into the special effect that you really like?
There is another.
You want to know? Yeah, because we were talking. I was talking about the practical effect. I want to hear what.
So there's one effect that I didn't realize it was special effect. It was a visual effect. I thought it was just practical, and it's Looking Glass. His mask.
Yeah, his mask.
So in the show, there's this character called Looking Glass. He wears this like. It almost looks like a Mylar mask, but it's like a stretchy material, and it's super shiny. It's like, but it's cloth. So I thought, they just found some really nice shiny material. Maybe they did a little bit of CG, but his entire face is CG, and I think so. He basically just wore a green hood so they could see like how the cloth would affect his face and the shape, and they put the CG shiny surface on top of him. Which is really cool. And so basically they did 360 pictures. They did 360 pictures of all the rooms so they can get all the reflections correctly. But my favorite part that did it is when he was acting, they put GoPros on his forehead and back of his head. So when he was talking to people, they could get the reflections of the people. And
because that's a very important thing with the character is that his whole thing with that mask is that he's supposed to be able to not only is he concealing himself, I just watched an interview with him talking about this earlier. Not only is he concealing himself, but he's throwing back the image of the person he's talking to so that they see themselves as opposed to even seeing his face. And his mask works for another reason too, which I won't spoil. But
yeah, so it was really cool that they went, because it was important to the character to really push that, and they could have said, you know what, let's not, it's too much, it's too hard. Yeah. But they went through the trouble of every shot that he was in a visual effect. And I'm sure it was so crazy to shoot and make it work. And there's one particular shot where like he has a white cloth and he's like wiping himself. Like the way they got like the cloth to touch the head and like have the reflection of it. If I'd never seen the little thing about how it was a visual effect, I would have thought it was just It was practical.
Yeah, it looks great. Everything in this, I can't think of any effects that I really hated in this. There are some that aren't as good as others, but like I'm thinking of like the babies on the.
Oh yeah.
they weren't necessarily the best, but they still worked for the show,
and they're kind of meant to be a little creepy looking.
Right. So I can't think of any special effects in this that were awful. The whole thing really holds up. I'm going to watch it again in 10 years and see how it holds up.
Because they were kind of selective with how much special effects and what things needed special effects. So they didn't try to overload you with a bunch of things.
And also, all of the special effects fit in the world as part of the storytelling.
Yeah.
And if you make, your effects important and not just like throwing them in frivolously, I can't even speak, then they're easier to buy. Like you just go with it because you're so invested in the show and what the show is trying to say that even, a special effect that isn't as good is going to be like, yeah, but I'm so in this moment, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Short Trooper said that effects was brilliant. I think he was talking about Looking Glass. It's Lockerbie.
Hey, Lockerbie.
Hey, Lockerbie. How's it going? See you tomorrow.
Yeah, this show is awesome. You want to talk about Hooded Justice?
Yeah. Well, no, you
go. You wanted.
Well, the really cool thing. So, Hooded Justice was in the comic, and he's been part of like this, and kind of lightly touched on because he's supposed to be like the before the Minutemen. Yeah, the Minutemen prior to the comic book Watchmen, and so he was just this guy who was like the first one, and it was kind of cool. But like, they went back and we got kind of an origin story for him in the show that I was not expecting at all.
And it's incredible.
Because they touch on it. They keep showing him like sprinkles of him. It's like, oh yeah, well obviously because he's the first one, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden they drop a whole episode about his origin.
Well, it's funny how they even sprinkle it in because they sprinkle it in not as the actual Hooded Justice, but as a TV show.
A TV show version of him, yeah. Yeah. So in this world, there's a TV show about the Minutemen, and it's like a weird dramatized version of what happened, but it's obviously, and in the show they also acknowledge the fact that it's not real, that it's very like a TV show, and nobody really takes it as like historical, but it's just a fun TV show that people watch.
But it's funny whenever the TV show pops up, it pops up in a way that like something serious will happen in the show, and then it'll switch to the TV show, but you don't realize it yet, and it'll do something really campy, and you're like, that doesn't. Oh wait, this is a TV show. Okay, so it kind of has a way of kind of dictating some of the real life within the show, things that are happening in a way that's even more blatant but it's so blatant that it becomes kind of campy, which kind of satirizes some of the foolishness of the politics that are going on.
Tilla Potato Pony asks, is Rorschach in the film the original Rorschach or Rorschach 2? Like, do they have the same personality? Do you mean on the TV show?
Rorschach died at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Right.
These are just people who.
In this TV show, he's more the representation of him, and they took on his persona kind of. It's a giant group of them. They all wear the mask, so it's Rorschach only as a symbol, not as a character.
Right, he's not actually there.
Yeah, he's not actually there.
There are a couple characters from the original that are there, and my favorite has to be. Who's your favorite? I wonder.
I don't know yet. Because I was surprised every time one of them showed up. I was like, "Oh, it's them! It's that guy."
I really love that without spoiler, because there's one who's really cool, but I'm not even going to tell you how they show up. But one who is already known in the show that I really love is Jean Smart coming back as Lori, the second Silk Spectre. But she comes back as a FBI agent who is hunting vigilantes. So she has a history with vigilantes, working with them, but now she's, kind of on the other side of it, and she understands them. So it kind of helps motivate what she's doing. But Jean Smart in that role is just so... Let's talk about the acting in the show.
Yeah, acting's great.
All of the acting is great. Regina King is amazing. Jean Smart is amazing. Whenever they're on screen together and they're just like going back and forth, is so great. It's just so interesting to watch. There's someone else I want to talk about, but I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah, let's leave that one alone. But it's pretty major. But I do want to say that going off of Regina King and Jean Smart, I love and also going off of the Hooded Justice origin retelling. I love the diversity that's pushed in this show, and pushed in a way that's very authentic and that makes a lot of sense. All of the that whole new origin of Hooded Justice just makes absolute sense in every aspect, and it's so incredible that they thought of it to even put it in. I have to point out that the writer's room on this show, the reason that I think some of these ideas come across so well, because Damon Lindelof is a great writer in himself, but he also surrounded himself with a writer's room that he purposely made half black. Half of the writers on this were black. And then also half of the writers on this were women, which, that kind of thing is unheard of. But to have a woman of color front and center on the show, and then all of the women in the show outside of her, in addition to her, being so powerful, it comes through when you make
every woman
those kinds of decisions.
I think almost every woman in that show came across as like super strong, good or bad. They showed up as super strong, which I thought was really, really cool, and charismatic and funny, which I thought like there's I forget her name, the Asian lady,
Lady True.
Lady True. She was my favorite. She's
great.
But yeah, they did a really good job representing and keeping that kind of present. I think that we don't get to see a whole lot of.
Yeah, and diversity not just in race and gender, but also within that we get to see we have all these women, but there are so many different types of women. It's not everyone. It's not just a cookie cutter thing. And I think that's what helps to make this show so complex, is because everyone represents something different, and everyone is treated with care. Even the villains are treated with care and authenticity that makes you interested in what they're going to do next. Whether you're rooting for them or not, how is this all going to play out? How do we overcome these problems, or how do we, tackle such situations without, becoming villains ourselves? So, it's a really, really interesting point of view.
Yeah,
there's so many people whose character changes over the course of the show. I'm gonna read something.
Arsenal 2K says, hey, did you all read Doomsday Clock, the sequel to Watchmen?
I did
that brought in the characters to DC. I did not.
I didn't read it.
Did you not want to read it, or just didn't?
I think that it just happened to come out at a point where I was kind of taking a break from comics, and so I just didn't. I probably, if I was still reading comics at that point in time, I'm sure I would have picked it up, just because it's interesting to see what DC is trying to do with the Watchmen series after all the kerfuffle with Alan Moore. Alan Moore wants nothing to do with Watchmen anymore, which is unfortunate, because I feel like he might actually appreciate. I mean, I can't speak for him, but I feel like he might actually appreciate what this series in particular was trying to do, the seriousness of it, as opposed to the Zack Snyder movie.
Yeah.
I enjoy the Zack Snyder movie, but I have serious problems with it. And I feel like it's the same problems that I have with Zack Snyder as a filmmaker in general, is that he's just so toxically masculine that it's hard to watch some of this stuff.
Yeah. It comes off as like cool, and you're like, oh, this is awesome, and then it just like, you're like, okay. Yeah. It just kind of pushes a little bit. Telepotato. Oh, I had done it. Potato Pony says, not to derail, but I mean, you were talking about how the Watchmen movie and how there wasn't a fascist like in the comics. I've heard there's a second Rorschach. Where's there a second Rorschach?
No, the Watchmen movie has actual Rorschach in it, but he's just not presented in the same way that the comic.
Oh, and then he just said a second Rorschach in Doomsday Clock, I guess.
Oh, got it.
So maybe that's why we don't know about a second Rorschach, because we didn't read.
Yeah, I haven't read Doomsday Clock.
Did you read Doomsday Clock? Oh, sorry. So maybe there is one in the Doomsday Clock. That wouldn't make sense.
So in the Watchmen movie, Rorschach is the Rorschach, the first Rorschach. He's just not presented the same way.
The sequel comics aren't the same continuity as this.
Yeah, they jumped into DC proper continuity with those.
Yeah.
How else do you feel about the show?
I'm excited to find out how it ends.
What do you think of Jeremy Irons and all his scenes?
I liked him a lot. And it was a nice surprise to find out things about him because everything starts out and you have no idea what's happening with him. Right. It is bonkers, and
you're not even sure. I mean, you can guess who he is, but they don't even reveal who he actually is until later.
Yeah, and I do love how it his story is separated from the main story for a while, and so you see him living his life that he's living, and it just gets weirder and weirder and crazier, and it makes no sense when you see it. And then finally, they reveal what's happening, and you're like, and then it makes sense. And it is weird as it is. I liked it.
It's funny that even all of the weirdness in it, even with all of the weirdness in it, every single thing, every single aspect of Watchmen is done on purpose and has a point.
Has a point, yeah.
So even all of that stuff, even though it feels so like such a departure from the main storyline because it's all set separately and presented separately, it ends up coming together and it ends up, it ends up being very important to the show.
Yeah. So Grant confirms, yes, he's in Doomsday Clock. Do you think the panda had more...
What are you laughing at over there?
Panda. Do you think the panda had more screen? He said, do you think the panda had more screen than he gotten?
If they had more scenes than were in it? Because he seemed like a fairly developed character, and he only had 30 seconds of screen time.
He seemed really important at the beginning, and then they made a big deal about him. Yeah, and then he kind of...
I feel like even though Damon Lindelof said that his intention was to only do this one story in this one season, I feel like there were still little things thrown into the show in case it was picked up for more.
Oh, okay.
And so I feel like there were some things that popped up here and there that were just we're gonna world build here so that if we do more, we have things to choose from.
But it wasn't in a distracting way. It was just kind of
there's more. It wasn't distracting.
There was the guy who slid down the sewer.
I love that guy that slid down the sewer. Do you remember that?
That's what Del Potato Funny just said. I'm sorry. I just found that there's a lube man. And there's a lube man.
So this guy was all lubed up. He comes into play because he sees Angela doing something that she doesn't want people to see her doing. So she kind of chases after him. And we don't really know who he is, if he's a supervillain or what.
Yeah, we don't know.
But she kind of chases after him just because she doesn't want to, she doesn't want evidence of what she's doing to get out.
Yeah. I'm going to buy Danny a lube man costume.
And he just, it's a very quick scene, but he runs and he literally slides into a little sewer grate, like where you would see Pennywise.
After squirting lube.
Yeah, he's this tall, skinny man. Like think Danny Monteith in a tight costume, and he just goes squirts himself with his lube or whatever, and then just lays down and slides into a sewer.
And it's such a it's a moment that comes out of nowhere, but it's such an incredible moment that you're like, fuck, that was awesome. that was hilarious. So it turns out that I think that was a character who was one of those things that was like, we're world building and we can play off of this later, because it turns out that characters, because vigilantes and superheroes all have alter egos. We know who that character's alter ego is.
Do we do?
The show doesn't tell you.
Oh, okay.
But if you're reading on the internet, we found out who that character's alter ego is, and it's interesting. I'm not gonna say on the show. I'll tell you after the show. But it's very interesting, and it would have. I feel like that's something that would have played out more in future seasons.
Telepathy Bernie says, "Nope." Jose, question: what's with the encasing people in gold thing? In the show, I never got the meaning behind that.
Well, it happens.
I think it was just a stasis thing, right? It was just a way to like hold somebody in stasis for a little while. Yeah, it's like carbonite, and I think it was what do you call it? A way to kind of explain something else in the story, or to kind of give us like a visual.
Yeah.
But it really all it was just a way to encase somebody for stasis.
But it's cool. I think it does have a little bit of symbolism just within knowing who it is that's encased in gold, and also who it is that encased the person in gold, and the reason behind it, without giving it away. I mean, when you get to a point where you see someone in gold, I guess we just spoiled that for you. But I don't think that it's too much to read into.
No, it wasn't too much. Jose says it sounds like he knows. Oh, the Lube man. It sounds like he knows what a good time is.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Always ready for one. Great. Now I can mentally unsee it. Yeah.
Lube man is interesting. You don't even get a good look at it.
No, and
it's so quick.
And then never again. And then he's done. Again. And like, well.
But I feel like even though it doesn't play out anymore, it's still a good way of world building. So we know what kind of world this is we live in, where there are people running around.
We didn't feature characters that we didn't get anything of, but they were just part of that. Like Pirate Jenny was there for like one scene. The guys with the dogs who wore the dog masks were really cool. And I do appreciate that they're there, and then like it kind of makes you feel like there's a lot more to the story. There's a lot more to the world that we're.
And there are other cop characters too, like was it Red Menace? Was that his name?
Red Menace. I liked him a lot.
Yeah, all the cops are masked now, and that's part of the world building. Even though masks have been outlawed, there's this kind of there was a political agenda to allow cops to wear masks for their safety, and that plays into the whole, what purpose cops play into it. There's a lot of, it's a very complex show, and I feel like a lot of the writing, like I said, the writer's room was really well staffed, and I think that this might be one of the best written shows. It's unfortunate that what are you reading?
Sorry. Read it out loud. We just got a new follow, Fox Picture Media. How's it
thanks
going?
For the new follow.
And they said, what about Flying Hell, 1980? I don't know what that means.
Flying High?
Flying High.
1980? Let's look it up.
And then Del Potato Pony says, oh, heck, in the Watchmen universe, Vietnam is the 51st state of the United States. Yep. America wins the Vietnam War, and Vietnam becomes...
Okay, that's where the main character's from.
She grew up there.
Oh, Flying High is Airplane. The movie Airplane.
Oh.
Which is a movie that I love. But what about it?
I don't know.
It's a great movie if that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
What was I saying? So like I was saying, this show is like one of the best written that we've had in a long time. I have a what?
No, I know what you're gonna say. And I'm sad
I have a short list of movies. Shows that I can think of off the top of my head that are so well written. And this definitely comes up pretty high on that list. And then other shows that we're getting right now and just don't compare. It just makes this show stand out more.
Yeah, and makes me sad.
So Dave and I watched Watchmen just before starting Star Trek Picard. And Star Trek Picard is one of the worst written shows.
Which sucks because otherwise, like, production value and, like, the cast and everything's... I don't know, not all the cast, but, like, it has so much promise, and it's just
It has so much promise, and it's just unfortunate because I was really looking forward to it, and I really wanted to love Picard, but they're just...
It's struggling.
I can't. I'm going to finish. But, but at the same time, I can't.
I'm committed to finishing it because it's Picard and I like it. I like him and I like Star Trek. I will basically watch whatever Star Trek thing shows up on TV. But yeah, it's been kind of like I thought Discovery was kind of like iffy. Like sometimes I like this, sometimes it was kind of like that. But this one's just kind of.
Well, the thing with Discovery is, okay. So the reason that I am comparing the two is because they're both kind of Watchmen and current Star Trek. Both kind of tackle current day politics.
Yeah.
But one does it really, really well and really, really successfully, and the other doesn't. So current day Star Trek, consisting of both Discovery and Picard, Discovery has that diversity that's pushing with its characters. We get gay characters, we get a black woman lead, just like Watchmen. We get all kinds of different characters on that, and we get the first season of Discovery, I think, gave us a little more complexity with those characters and who they are. Second season of Discovery kind of didn't do anything new. And second season of Discovery became more of a action thing where it's just like, here's something shiny and we're going to show you something shiny. And there's so much shiny that you aren't even going to think about the story. So it's interesting in a little bit that way. But Picard is that second season of Discovery where there's not much character development, but also there's no shiny.
No shiny, yeah.
So it's like, what are you trying to give us here with Picard? You're trying to give us this this political commentary, but the way you're doing it is just all wrong.
And it started out like with an interesting idea, like all this mystery and who this girl is and what's gonna happen, and then we kind of find out kind of what she is. So no, I'm not that interested anymore to find out. I'm like, I want to know, but you gave me so much already of her, like that I don't really, not that interested anymore.
And actually, now that you say that, thinking about how I feel about the show, I think it spent too much time explaining who she was. And it's only been 4 episodes so far. It spent so much time explaining who she was that we didn't really get an explanation of who these other characters that we're supposed to be caring about are. And so we don't care about any of this. It spends 4 episodes getting the crew together, but it doesn't spend any time letting us know the crew. And so we're not at all emotionally invested in them. The big emotional investment so far in Star Trek Picard has been Seven of Nine, who showed up in she showed up in the next to last episode at the very end. But in this very last episode that came out, she has an incredible arc, and we are totally invested in her as we get to see her go through what she's going through. And then all the other characters are just
in the same episode, we see her deal with like a very traumatic event. And at the same time, we watch the other character, the other lady.
Rafi deals with a similar event.
Yeah.
She has a scene that's similar to a scene that Seven has.
But we don't care.
But we don't care.
Because I don't really care about Rafi.
And it's unfortunate.
It wasn't set up well.
No. It wasn't set up well.
No, it's just all of a sudden it came out. All of a sudden it showed up. I was telling Will, and then the Vulcan who has no idea what's happening. It's like, how does she not know?
So it's like, so this is why there's chaos happening outside.
Can you guys hear the chaos outside? This is our test to see how much we can not hear the outside of this room.
So writing is such an important thing. Like writing really can make or break a show. And I feel like even when you're trying to tackle similar ideas or political climates, if you don't do it right, it ain't going to work. No. Watching something like Picard just makes me appreciate Watchmen even more for what it is. It's such an incredibly put together, complex show. It's so intricate.
Like I'm kind of only watching Picard because Picard's on.
Yeah.
Because of him. And because 7 and 9 showed up.
I'm at this point, I'm only watching for 7 of 9.
Yeah.
I don't even think she's going to be like, now. She'll be back. Because on IMDb, it says she's listed for like a certain number of episodes. But she's not like in the whole show. Like the show isn't about her.
Yeah. And I'm waiting for the other cameos to show up. And maybe another cameo we don't know about.
But even I want to say that I'm watching because Picard is there, but even him as a character, I feel like has been.
I like this French character. His French character.
Oh,
that made me laugh.
With the eye patch.
With the eye patch.
No, there's a scene, I won't spoil the what's happened in the show so far, but there's a scene where Picard does a little tantrum, and it is just like eye rolling. And it's cringeworthy, and I can't believe that they let Picard do that.
I can't believe he let Picard do that, because like he talked about so long about how like he would never come back and then finally he's like, oh, I found something that actually like he would come back for, and he relaxed it. And I'm like watching, I was like, Julian,
it feels so wrong.
What he did, because you're seeing commercials that he's doing now, like on YouTube. You'll get a commercial that's him talking about how important the refugee crisis in Europe is to him, and I think that was so important to him that he insisted on this show being about the refugees of Romulus.
Oh, okay.
Which
so
is,
I think that's why.
And I don't know how we're using new mics today, so I don't know how they pick up Dave being over here. But he was saying that if you couldn't hear it, he was saying that Patrick Stewart, it seems, was very excited about doing this show because he could use it to represent the refugee crisis, which the show does represent, but they don't do it well.
Yeah,
and it's unfortunate.
With Star Trek.
Right. So my biggest gripe with Star Trek, this turned into a Star Trek show. It was supposed to be a Watchmen show, but my biggest gripe, sorry, I'm coughing today. My biggest gripe with what's happening in Star Trek right now is that Star Trek was supposed to be, and has always been, up until current day, the hopeful future of science fiction. Yep. It's what we would aspire to. So Star Trek was the inspiration. And Star Trek has now become generic. Star Trek is no longer aspirational or inspiration or hopeful, because instead of leading the way of what our future should be with peace and love and all that hippie stuff, instead of leading the way with that, it is now trying to cash in on other sci-fi and what other sci-fi shows are doing, and it just makes it generic. So it no longer feels like Star Trek to me.
Yeah. And like I was telling you earlier, I'm hoping that they'll finish the season out and actually take like a hard look at it and go what worked, what didn't, and they'll work on making the second season better. Because I mean, a lot of shows do that, where if they're intelligent, look back and find out what things work. There's ways to fix it and make it better.
Hopefully that's the case.
I hope so.
But for all you people out there writing and putting together your writers' rooms, hire people that will make your show authentic to what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Because it makes a big difference, and Watchmen is a perfect example of that. Just to bring it back to the topic of the show. What's going on in the chat?
Jose says, does that mean that the Orville is now the hopeful point for the future?
Yes.
I think so.
Orville does a better job of being Star Trek-y than Star Trek does. I would agree with that.
Yeah. Mezzi Monty says, that's exactly my problem with it. I need Star Trek to give me hope. Yeah. And it hasn't still yet. There's still time, but it hasn't.
Any closing remarks on Watchmen?
Watch Watchmen. Even more so, like a week ago, I said, yeah, okay, watch Watchmen. Now that I've actually watched Watchmen, and I watched almost 6 episodes in the last 24 hours, oh my God, watch it.
It's incredible.
I would say if it'd be worth paying for 1 month of HBO Go or getting the free trial.
Or is it available on DVD, Blu-ray? Just buy it.
I will buy it, yeah.
It's worth it.
Yeah. I know like we've talked about like there's way too many streaming services now.
Yeah.
But you can get a streaming service and just pay for a month of it. And then you could wait till Westworld season 3 comes out and then watch Westworld season 1, 2, and 3, watch Watchmen, and then be done for the month. And then wait till next year. See
also
what else
watch if you're going to be doing HBO, watch True Detective season 1. Because that's another one of the best written seasons I think I've seen on television. Just season 1. Season 2 was awful. But yeah.
Village Cooper says, I am silent because I haven't watched any of the new Star Trek. It's okay.
If you're a Star Trek fan, I'm even hesitant to recommend it to you because of what I just said. Like it's not the Star Trek that you are a fan of.
They say fuck a lot on Picard.
They do. There's Dave just found out earlier today that there is precedent for saying fuck on Star Trek.
They snuck it into an original series episode. He says fucking in a Scottish accent.
And it sounds like he's saying Vulcan. But he's actually saying fucking.
Which not that there's anything wrong, but it's just weird. Like, and then I guess we'll get used to it. But the first time I was like, oh, that's weird.
It's weird because, like I've said 100 times on this episode already, it's weird because it's inauthentic. Like it doesn't fit. There's no purpose for it in the moment.
No.
They just throw it in to kind of try to make the show feel edgy and young and to get like viewers to watch. But it doesn't actually serve a purpose.
Doesn't add really anything.
It doesn't add anything. It could have been any word. I mean, I've been watching a lot of Battlestar Galactica where they say frack a lot.
I love that.
And it could have been like, it could have been any word and it would have gotten the point across. It doesn't have to be fuck.
Yeah. So
not that I have anything against the word fuck, but it just it didn't fit.
It's like when Data says shit, it's for comedy.
Yeah.
It served a purpose.
Yeah. Watch Watchmen.
Watch Watchmen. If you have to choose between Star Trek, Picard, and Watchmen, go with Watchmen. Do you have any recommendations?
Recommendations. This has been a rough week. Your turn to go first.
You got on my case about that. I have a recommendation ready to go. And actually talking about Star Trek Picard leads right into it.
All right, let's go with the recommendation. Turning off the title.
Dave and I have been so disappointed in Star Trek Picard that we had to go back to one of his favorite sci-fi shows or movies. And it's interesting because all of this new Star Trek has a lot of, both Discovery and Picard have moments of trying to coincide science with faith in a way. And there's a really good movie that does that so well that I don't know if I mean, it was a hit when it came out, but I don't know how many people remember it or watch it constantly, but the movie Contact, starring Jodie Foster.
That's a good movie.
With Matthew McConaughey. Dave and I just rewatched it last night, and it holds up so well. It's so good.
I used to, for some reason, really dislike that movie, and somewhere in my 20s, I went, oh, I love this movie.
It's a thinking movie.
Yeah.
It's not... Dave and I ended up having a conversation based on watching it about hard sci-fi as opposed to like action-y genre sci-fi.
Yeah.
So movies like Interstellar or Arrival that are science fiction but taken more seriously. Contact definitely is towards the top of that list of that kind of movie. So it's not a movie that you can watch inactively.
Yeah.
You have to actively watch Contact for it to work. But if you're actively watching, there's a lot going on within that movie. And it's got a great cast too. I totally forgot that Angela Bassett is in it. So when she popped up, I was like, yes, I was so happy. But there are, William Fichtner and David Morse, Jodie Foster, Matthew McConaughey. It's such a great cast.
My favorite James Woods movie.
And it's got James Woods. If you're a James Woods fan, James Woods is always good at playing douchebags, and he definitely plays one in Contact as well. I almost feel like it's not acting for him, but that's another episode.
So Reed H. Cooper has recommendations.
What? Reed H. Cooper is recommending Kidding Season 2 and the DCU Harley Quinn.
Yeah. I haven't seen Kidding Season 1.
I haven't seen Kidding
either. I should,
either.
because I know a lot of people in that show.
Do you?
It's full of puppets. So there's a bunch of people on that. I just saw the cast, the credits scene from this end is everybody. Yeah, everybody. I should watch because I should support. Jim Carrey.
Go ahead.
I was going to move on to the next thing.
I was just going to say Jim Carrey is kind of on a roll right now because Sonic also has been getting...
I need to watch it. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it yet either, but it's been getting really good reviews. It's been great at the box office, and everyone that I know who's liked it said that it works for two reasons. One is because of the nostalgia of Sonic, the game they actually nailed, and also that Jim Carrey is back to his prime. Like everyone's raving about Jim Carrey in that movie. So yeah, I kind of need to see it.
Okay. I didn't come up with it because I was listening to your thoughts. So
that's okay. I gave 2 recommendations.
And Rita Cooper jumped in and helped out with the recommendations. Yeah, Malama says friends that I watched this said they it was better than expected. I need to make time to go see it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thank you so much for watching, guys. Today is a special day because we're doing our back-to-back episode. So if you guys want to watch Corridor 1, don't go anywhere. We're not going to cut the stream. We're going to go to a wait screen for a few minutes, maybe like 5 minutes or so, and then we're going to go straight into Corridor 1. This is our experiment trying to see if this works out for us because we like the idea of eventually doing multiple shows back-to-back.
Yep.
Just so you guys know, that's our goal, to be able to do this more like a TV studio. So ideally, I think next we'll be like having 2 shows every night. And then 3 shows every night. And then so we can do a long thing so we can hang out with you guys as much long as possible. But we're going to do that tonight. Make sure you guys come back tomorrow as well for Stalin's Legacy at 7:30 p.m. Pacific. And then Wednesday, Perception Check is back with the Felder Friends at 7:30 p.m. as well. And then we'll be back next week, right?
We're back next week with Cinephilia.
Anything else?
No, not that I can think of.
All right. Well, thank you so much for actually watching, you guys, and we'll Cinephilia
later.
Don't go anywhere.